Bee Bear and Lolly were the best of friends. And why not? They liked the same porridge, the same chair, and the same comfy bed. They did all sorts of stuff together, finding snacks, looking at books, skipping stones, playing in the sand, looking at books, creating masterpieces, laughing, and playing catch. As summer came too close, Bee Bear was thinking about the first day of school. Kindergarten starts next week, he said. I can't wait to do math and science and spelling, learn to read. What are you excited about, Lolly? She grinned. I'm excited about recess. Bee Bear laughed. Oh, golly. Lolly. The afternoon, the friends decided to get everything they needed for school. They went to the woodcutter store in the hollow of a tree. Then it was time to pick out what to wear for their first day. Too big, too small, too hot, too cold, too dark, too bright, too silly. Finally, they found outfits that were just right. On the first day of school, Bee Bear and Lolly had breakfast together. Unfortunately, Bee Bear was very frenzied. Mama, what if no one likes me? Asked Bee Bear. Oh, Honey Bear, what if everyone likes you? Mama Bear said warmly. Lolly agreed. Besides, I like you, she said with a smile. That made Bee Bear smile too. Suddenly, the chuckle clock chirped. We can't be late on the first day, Bee Bear exclaimed. He kissed his mama and papa goodbye. He grabbed his backpack and pulled Lolly out the door. Bee Bear ran the forest path. Hurry, Lolly, hurry. Don't worry, I know a shortcut, said Lolly. She turned right at a craggy rock, hopped over a messy log, and passed by a house made of straws. Are we there yet? Bee Bear groaned. This backpack weighs a ton. Why did you bring so much stuff? Asked Lolly. I had to be prepared, Bee Bear said. What about you? Where's your stuff? Right here, said Lolly, pulling a pencil from her hair. But I may have packed too much. The pair came to a tree that had fallen across the stream. Now, said Lolly, there's the tricky part. What, convincing me to walk over that? Asked Bee Bear. Lolly took a few steps across. He turned and said, Come on, Bee Bear. Don't call me baby, Bee Bear exclaimed. I'm a big bear. Bee Bear took a deep breath and bravely walked forward. His claws dug into the wet wood. But Lolly didn't have claws. She just had new shoes that were very slippery. Bee Bear reached for his friend. Whoa! Splash! Bee Bear swam over to her. Lolly, are you okay? That was so much fun, said Lolly. Let's do it again. Bee Bear almost agreed until he realized that his backpack was gone. Looking around, he saw all his school supplies floating down the stream with the current. My stuff, he cried. "Come back," he yelled to the forest creatures taking his school supplies, but it was no use. "Come on, Bee-Bear," said Lolly gently. "It's time to go." "No, I need a dose," cried Bee-Bear. Tears rolled down his furry cheeks. "It'll be okay," she told him. "You can borrow my pencil." When they finally made it to school, Bee-Bear was still upset. "I don't have anything I need for school," he whimpered. Lolly grabbed his hand and smiled. Just then Bee-Bear realized he had the only thing he truly needed. A friend. The end. Our family needed a new couch. We looked and looked, but we couldn't find a couch we liked. By nighttime, all we had found was a tin horn for me and a squeaky bone for Roscoe. Then Dad suddenly hit the brakes and "Aha!" he cried. Soon we were heading back home with a new couch. "Who is that back there?" I asked. "I don't know," said Dad. "He came with the couch." The next morning he was still there, so I gave him some toast and let him play with Bonnie. "I'm Sophie," I told him. "Who are you?" But he didn't say anything. "Can we keep him?" I asked. "No," said Dad. Mom and Dad tried to persuade him to leave, but he didn't budge. "Maybe he's sick," I asked, so they called the doctor. "It's an acute case of upholsteries," said the doctor. "He needs to get out more." So we took him to Grand Canyon. We took him to the beach. We took him to Washington, D.C., but he never left the couch. Mom and Dad said we'd just have to get used to him. "Great," I said. Then one day a branch snapped and I fell from my tree. "Help!" I screamed. There was a sudden crash. He saved me. That's why we're so glad he came with the couch. But it wasn't long before we were off to another rummage sale. He came with the chair. The end. There were two worlds that drove Grace crazy. Her sister Lucy never said anything else. Whatever Grace did, Lucy did too. She dressed like Grace. She ate her breakfast like Grace. She even sat on the potty like Grace. And every morning she tried to go to school with Grace. "Monkey see, monkey do," smiled her parents. "She copies you because she loves you, Gracie," said her mother. "Because she wants to be like you," said her father. "Can't she learn to say something else?" asked Grace. Grace said to Lucy, "Stop it right now or I'll put you in the closet without Gorilly or your binkies for as long as you live." But Lucy didn't hear. When Grace had a play date, Lucy had one too. When Grace went to swim class, Lucy went. When Grace joined the Junior Scouts, Lucy joined. And every evening when Grace went to bed, Lucy did too. "Monkey see, monkey do," chimed her parents. "She thinks you're wonderful," said her mother. "She wants to be you," said her father. "I've absolutely no privacy," said Grace, and she didn't. Wherever Grace went, Lucy went too. Downstairs, upstairs, everywhere. To secret places, even private places. All Grace wanted was a lock on her door. "It's just not safe," said her mother. "You could get locked in there all by yourself," said her mother. Grace thought that sounded like a great idea. One afternoon, when Grace's mother came to pick her up from school, Lucy came too. "Look," said Edna, pointing. "It's a mini Grace." "Monkey see, monkey do," squealed the Taylor twins. Everyone started giggling. Grace grabbed Lucy's lunchbox and backpack. "Come on, Lucy," she said. "It's time for your afternoon nap. Too bad your blankie's in the washing machine. I hope it doesn't get stuck." When they got home, Grace ran upstairs crying. She stopped in front of Lucy's room and then slipped inside. A few seconds later, she dashed out, squeezing Gorilly in one hand and a bunch of binkies in another. "Monkey see, monkey do. See her toes? I'll paint yours blue. Monkey see, monkey do. He has 8 spots. Now you do too. Monkey see, monkey do. Oops, your bow needs some glue. I need some glue." That afternoon, Grace was sent to the rocker for a full hour. On Saturday, Grace had swim class. She couldn't wait to get to the pool. She loved to swim. And she loved her swim coach, Miss Finn, even more. Miss Finn could do everything. She was Tiptoe Snape. She could hold her breath underwater for more than 2 minutes. And she could do a perfect swan dive. "Call me coach," she said, "because we are a team of serious athletes." When it all came to Aqued's trivia, Coach Finn knew it all. Class began that morning with an underwater bubble blowing drill. "Bubbles up," Grace cheered from her side. While Coach Finn was busy, Grace addressed the class. "Did you know that elephants can swim 20 miles a day? They use their trunks as natural snorkels," she said, but no one answered. Coach Finn saved the last 5 minutes for free swim. Grace wanted to try a swan dive. She placed her toes carefully over the edge of the pool, tucked her chin down, and pushed off. Grace gulped. She coughed. Then she swallowed some more of the pool. Her body was stinging all over and she felt horrible. She climbed out of the water and disappeared into her towel. "Nice dive," said Edna. "Looked more like a belly flop to me." "Wow," said Frank. "I bet that really hurt. Why'd you do it?" That's so obvious, said Edna. "Grace just wants to be like Coach Finn. She's a copycat." "You're right, Edna," said Coach Finn. "Grace and I do a lot of the same things. We're always trading swim facts in the locker room, and I love her sense of style. Everyone started at Grace and Evney. In the car on the way home, Grace was quiet. Oops. Not Frank. He had a lot to say. Wow, Grace Coach. Coach Finn, you really likes you. Oh, oops, I missed that part. Are you going to be a swim coach one day? Later that evening, are you going to be a swim coach one day? Later that evening, when the girls were taking a bath, Lucy grabbed a pair of Grace's goggles and tried to put them all on. This time Grace looked on. She didn't say a word. And before Lucy could cry, "Me too," Grace said, "It's all right. I'll help you." She put the goggles carefully over Lucy's face, stretching them into a perfect position. "I've got something I want to show you," said Grace. "Jump in." And of course Lucy did. The end. Sammy hated lima beans. He hated them so much that he couldn't eat a single one in his whole life. His mom tried a million different ways to make them. Lima bean soup, lima bean casserole, and lima bean surprise, whatever that was. One night she gave up and made no attempt to hide them all. Just plain old lima beans. That was the worst. Sammy stared down. For heaven's sake, said Mom. Just eat them. They're good for you. Each night, Sammy tried a new way to get rid of those crummy lima beans. He hid them underneath the mashed potatoes or stuffed them into a napkin. Once he tried feeding them to his dog, but Blackie was too smart for that. Then he had a brilliant idea. While Mom wasn't looking, Sammy pretended to eat the beans while quickly stuffing them into his socks. That's just swell. Mom said, "Sammy, gee whiz, those beans must be good for me. I feel like I'm going to play outside before you excuse from the table, skeptical." Mom checked all the usual plates for Sammy's unwanted lima beans, but they were nowhere to be found. Sammy ran out the back door and down the street with a sock full of hot, squishy beans. When he got to the vaccant, a lot of at the end of his block, he dug a hole. Sammy tossed the beans and covered them with dirt. He, snickered Sammy. "I'll never have to eat lima beans as long as I live." Well, you'll never guess what Mom made the next night. That's right, more lima beans. Since you enjoyed them so much last night, I decided to make them again, Mom said happily. Let Mom pile on as many lima beans as she wanted. Sammy had a surefire way getting rid of them. This time, as Sammy threw the beans into the hole in the vaccant, lot of his friend Chester walked by. What you doing, Sammy? Asked Chester. Sammy explained his brilliant method of disposing of unwanted vegetables. Chester agreed it was brilliant. The next night, Chester was tossing his lima beans into the hole right along with Sammy's. News traveled fast, and soon all the kids in the neighborhood were throwing their Brussels sprouts, parsnips, and lima beans down into the hole. Before long, they started bringing other things, like they didn't like ugly birthday sweaters, failed spelling tests, tap shoes, and even an accordion. Sammy had to draw the line when Chester tried to throw his baby brother in. One night there was a huge storm, and snug and warm in his bed, Sammy listened to the thunder grumble and watched the lightning streak across the sky. It struck everywhere. It could find tall trees, telephone poles, and even the church sleep. By the time that little mound of dirt was invaxant, a lot had grown big and tall. The lightning decided to strike that too. Not one time, but twice. All through the night, the mound grounded and growled and grew until all of a sudden the ground burst open and out crawled a huge, ugly, scary creature. It was as tall as a tree and a stank of lima beans and sweaty socks. Yuck. It was Lima Bean Monster. The monster stomped through the neighborhood, tossing around cars and stepping on houses. People screamed and ran in all directions to get away from the horrible, stinky monster. Roar! It roared as it stepped on Chester. Me want some human beings. Help! Cried Chester. Someone save us! At that moment, Sammy was too busy holding his nose and running in the other direction to hear Chester. The rampaging monster spotted Sammy and scooped him up in his massive paw. His smelly breath almost made Sammy faint. Me eat some human beings, he bellowed. Wait, cried Sammy, don't eat me. I'm too small. Would you like to eat someone bigger? After exclaiming hastily, the Lima Beans monster agreed. The even helpful Sammy pointed out his science teacher, making a fast getaway down Elm Street. Now there's a meal, Sammy said. The monster dropped Sammy, roared down Elm Street, and scooped up Sammy's science teacher. Eat lots of big human beings. He growled and proceeded to grab every single grown-up in the neighborhood. Help, they pleaded. We're doomed, hollered Chester's dad. What a way to go, wailed the science teacher. Do something, Sammy, cried Sammy's mom. Chester I've got an idea, Sammy exclaimed. First, we've got to round up every kid we know. Sammy and Chester got all the kids together and they quickly formed a circle around the giant. The Lima Beans monster looked down at them and laughed. Me come back when you little sprouts are bigger. Ha ha ha. He opened wide and prepared to drop Chester's dad into the gaping gullet. Just as Sammy cried out, "Okay, everybody, there's your one way. Eat your vegetables." The monster howled as hundreds of tiny little teeth nibbled at his feet. He chomped on his kneecaps and chewed his arm until there was nothing left of him at all, except for half of an ugly birthday sweater. When it was over, everybody cried, "Hooray from Sammy!" They carried him up and down the street on their shoulders. That night, as Sammy's mom tucked him in, he asked, "Do you know why, Ma? Do you know what, Ma? What's that, dear?" I asked Mom. Sammy thought for a moment and said, "Lima beans aren't so bad after all." "Really?" said Mom. "How do you feel about turnips?" Don't push your luck, Mom. Your luck, Mom. The end. It's a Hot Wheels sign, which is so cool. So these are the cars right over here that I already showed you guys.